Hello, and welcome to our presentation on Workday's People Experience, specifically focused on providing a brief introduction into the world of Workday journeys. So here is the Safe Harbor statement. This presentation contains forward-looking statements. Customers who purchase active cyber services should make their purchase decisions upon services, features, and functions that are currently available. Now, let's jump into the agenda for today's presentation. Today, you will learn about the overview of people experience, developing your journey strategy, how to configure journeys, ways to distribute journeys, reporting on journeys. Then we will bring it all together in a demonstration. So what is Workday's people experience? Workday's people experience includes several products and provides an intelligent, engaging, and helpful personalized employee experience that increases productivity. Employees get faster access to answers, information, and tasks when using Workday's people experience products, which include Workday Today, which is the new homepage designed to help employees find what they need as quickly as possible by intelligently surfacing insights and actions that help them to be better at their jobs. It includes redesigned search features that enhances performance by returning faster and more personalized search results so that the most relevant information and content is surfaced. Workday Assistant is a conversational chatbot that helps workers quickly complete actions and retrieve information from anywhere in Workday. Workday Everywhere allows workers to quickly and conveniently access data and tasks using Microsoft Teams, Slack, or other similar tools. The focus of today's discussion will be on Workday Journeys, which is a separate subscription that provides support for career and personal moments that matter. Now, instead of being reactive to answering employees' questions, customers can be proactive by creating personalized experiences that guide employees through career milestones like job rotation, promotions, company initiatives, or even crisis responses like COVID-19. Custom cards are also included in Journey subscriptions. This allows organizations to surface real-time data from third-party vendors right on the homepage. Last but not least is Workday Help. Workday Help is a separate subscription that includes knowledge management, articles, and case management. Workday Help connects employees to the information they need when and where they need it. This access also includes access to on-demand articles that include videos, case creation, and case tracking. So now it's time for an overview of Workday Journeys. Workday Journeys is a separate subscription that provides support for career and personal moments that matter. In order for organizations to achieve optimal productivity, boost retention, create an atmosphere of belonging and diversity, employees need to feel informed and supported in an autonomous manner. Instead of being reactive to answering employee questions, customers can be proactive by creating personalized experiences that guide employees through career milestones like onboarding, a job rotation, promotions, company initiatives, or crisis responses like COVID-19, all using Journey Pass. Now, since Workday already houses so much rich data, Journey Paths are not only able to contain HR data, but also help articles, learning content videos, Workday tasks, reports, external links, and to-dos. Custom cards are also included in the Journey description, which allows organizations to surface real-time data from third-party vendors right on the Workday Today homepage. Now, when we talk about immersive experiences, we're talking about experiences that remove the friction and barriers to information and instead put the employee in the center, delivering a single intuitive experience all in one place. The best employee experiences are all the ones that are designed with the employee in mind and are oriented around guiding them through the most critical moments in their career. So here are a few key moments that matter, which Workday used as key use cases as they built out the product. So we have recruiting, onboarding, performance and development, leave of absence, offboarding, and retirement. Now let's briefly discuss custom cards. In order to create custom cards, customers must use Orchestrate, which is part of the Workday Extend product. Just a clarification, if you've purchased the Workday Journey SKU, it comes with Orchestrate for you to build out your custom card. You don't need to purchase the Workday Extend SKU. Custom cards are displayed directly on Workday today. There are a number of use cases for creating custom cards. This is an example of one, nudging employees to take time off. So if you're using a third-party system for your time and attendance, you can use custom cards to surface live data right here on the Workday Today homepage. So in this example, the custom card is highlighting an employee's time off balance. This type of custom card encourages employees to review their current time off balance and request some much needed time off. It can also encourage employee well-being and wellness. So for this presentation, our focus will primarily be on Journey Pass. We'll not dive much deeper into configuring custom cards, but we just wanted to show you what was available with Workday Journeys. So before you jump into configuring your journeys, it's important to create a strategy for your journeys. So here are a few questions to think about when developing your journey strategy. First, think about what is the purpose of the journey? Who's the audience? Why would this journey help employees? When should you send the journey out? What steps should be included in the journey? Who will configure and administer the journey? Do you want to set up approvals when distributing the journey? And how do you want to monitor or follow up on journeys? Your journey strategy should fit within your overall company strategy. Now let's learn how to build your journeys using the new Journeys workspace, which includes a new drag and drop editor. So the Journeys workspace centralizes the admin experience by providing everything you need from creating your journeys to reporting on your journeys, all in one place. So to access the Journeys workspace, you can type in Journeys workspace directly in the global search field, or you can configure it on the global navigation menu. Here, you'll be able to get a quick view of the number of all distributed journeys as well as all the journeys configured in your tenant. When you click on a journey, you'll be able to take action by previewing the journey, accessing the journey's matrix, edit the journey, view the journey, and/or distribute the journey. By just clicking on the journey, you'll be able to access headline matrix for a quick pulse on the journey status, such as journeys marked complete. What's that percentage? The average number of days to completion, and the number of users with the journey still in progress. You'll also be able to click on the Create Journey button to create a new journey. In addition, right at your fingertips, you can access the New for You Journeys link, which routes you directly to the What's New in Workday report. There's also a Journeys Admin Guide link that will help guide you with instructions and more information about administering journeys. Last but not least, if you have a new idea, you can submit that idea by clicking the Brainstorm Community link right from the bottom of this page. So to gain confidence in your journey configuration, Workday provides a preview functionality, giving you the confidence that what you configured would be delivered to users in the manner you had intended. So many customers are excited to use this preview feature because they may have configured condition rules to deliver certain journey steps only to specific groups of employees. So you can test out how well your condition rules are working simply by clicking the Change button and entering an employee's name. When you do that, you can actually preview the journey as that employee. Journey paths can be customized to include many different forms of helpful content, such as embedded videos, learning content, help articles, external links, Workday tasks, and also to-dos, which simply are just plain text. Now, let's take a look at a high-level summary of steps to build your journey. Step 1, you would access the Journeys workspace and click Create Journeys. Then you would enter the journey name, a journey description, the journey category, and functional area. Step 2, create your journey step groups and steps. In this step, you can add in the steps that you want to include in your journey, such as help articles, learning content, videos, tasks, reports, links, and other to-dos. Step 3, check for errors to validate that your journey is fine in terms of the configuration before you distribute it. Step 4, preview your journey with the new Journeys workspace. You can preview your journey for a specific user, as I mentioned earlier. Then step 5, distribute your journey to your users. So there are 3 ways to distribute journeys. The first way is through the Distribute Journeys task, which we are calling ad hoc. The Distribute Journeys task allows you to distribute journeys to a select group of recipients. In order to use the task, you must configure the journey distribution business process definition and configure the business process security policy. The second way is to use the Mass Operations Management or MOM process, and you can distribute up to 50,000 journeys at one time. This is done by using a standard or custom report containing all recipients. Now you can simply create a custom report to identify your population using the index, all workers, and workers for public organizations data sources. The last way is through the business process service step, and it triggers journeys to be automatically sent out by configuring a journey as a step service on a business process. Currently, we do have business process service steps available for the change job, the add additional job, the hire, and termination business processes. So how do your users know when they have a journey? Where is it displayed? Distributed journey notifications are displayed on the Workday Today homepage in the Awaiting Your Action section along with the inbox items. Once the user clicks on the journey notification in the Awaiting Your Action section, the View Journeys report is displayed, where the user sees sections for active journeys and completed journeys. When a user clicks on an active journey, the journey opens up to where the user can take action on their journey. Now, let's quickly dive into Headline Matrix to understand journey data and reports. When you click on the journey, then click on the Metrics tab. You will see delivered metrics such as journey recipients, completion rate for a specific journey, how the journey was distributed, and when. You'll also see a section for journey status overview. This shows the average days to start and complete a journey, as well as the overall status of a journey. Below that, you'll see a section showing the step type usage overview, which includes the top 5 most engaged steps and engagement by step type. Last but not least, at the bottom of the page, you'll see the required step analysis and optional step analysis, which means the recommended step analysis. In addition to the Metrics tab, some additional reporting options include the View Journeys Delivered report, which gives a journeys overview for self-service end users to see all the journeys distributed to them. You can also access the View All Journeys Delivered report that lists configured journeys and statuses by recipient for administrators. Lastly, you can always create custom reports using the Journeys data source. Well, mistakes sometimes do happen, so let's discuss canceling, rescinding, and/or retiring journeys. In this summary, we can see the differences between canceling a journey, rescinding a journey, and retiring a journey. For cancel, it removes an in progress or not started journey from the View Journeys report. However, these journeys can still be referenced by the recipients later. The rescind option will rescind in progress, not started, and/or completed journeys entirely. Like cancel, it removes the journey from the View Journeys report. However, these journeys cannot be referenced later. The retire option completes in progress or not started journeys, and retired journeys display on the View Journeys report so that recipients can reference them later. So now it's time for a demonstration. So let me go ahead and go into Workday here. And I'll select here. And let's do a demo on how to configure Journey Paths in Workday. Now, right now, I am logged in as Logan McNeil, who is the Journeys administrator. Logan and team have developed a strategy for their journey. Logan wants to send out a journey that can help new managers transition seamlessly into their new roles by removing the friction and barriers to information that managers need by delivering a consolidation of helpful content right within a journey path. So step one, we'll need to access the journey's workspace. So let's go ahead and do that. And here in the search bar, we will type in Journey Workspace. Now, the Journey Workspace report is part of the People Experience Workspace. At a glance, you'll see the headline matrix up at the top of the page. This shows us all of our distributed journeys, our journeys marked complete, the average days to complete, as well as users with journeys in progress. You'll also see the All Journeys section that includes all journeys configured in your tenant. The All Journeys section includes the journey name, the journey category, the last modified date, the user that the journey was last modified by, the status of the journey, and the last distributed date if applicable. You can simply click on a journey name to pull up a menu allowing you to edit the journey, preview the journey, distribute the journey, access the journey matrix for the journey, and/or view the journey. Now, let's get to step number 2, which is to create our journey. So Logan will need to click this Create Journey button. So let's go ahead and do that. Now from here, you'll have the option to select one of Workday's delivered journey paths, or you can click on Create a Blank New Journey, which is what we will do for the purposes of this demonstration. So we'll need to enter a journey name. So let's go ahead and enter Transition to Manager. Okay. And then we can enter a journey description as well. However, just a note here, the journey name and journey description are for internal purposes only. These names and descriptions are not displayed to recipients, okay? However, the journey category name right here is displayed to recipients. So when I click on this, you can see that I can add in an existing journey category, or I can create a new one just by clicking the Create Journey Category link. When I do that, then I need to enter a journey category name. So I'm also going to enter Transition to Manager here, and then I can put in a description for the journey category. All right. Again, just remember, this particular description is not going to be displayed to recipients, okay? The journey category name is displayed, but not the description. Last but not least, I can enter in a functional area. This is for reporting purposes only, but let's go ahead and enter one, and we'll put in staffing. And then click Create. So now we're routed to the editor where you can add in your journey step group and journey steps. So a journey step group is a collection of helpful steps that you would like users to review or take action on. You can add in the steps you want right within the journey. You can include tasks, links, articles, videos, learning content, and to-dos, which again are just simply plain text. You would just simply drag and drop your step group and then begin to add your steps right over here in this area. So let's go ahead and add in our first step group. So I'm going to grab the group and I'm going to drag it over here within this area. Now, within the step group, you will see 2 sections for your steps. There's required steps and recommended steps. So let's go ahead and take a look at the right-hand side panel. And I can go ahead and add in my step group name right here. So I'm going to, in the step group name field, I'm going to change what's there and type in Getting Started. Below that, I can add in a step group condition rule. However, for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to leave that blank. Also, there is a configuration description field that I could populate, perhaps for my internal journey administrators, but for this particular step group, I'm also going to leave that blank as well. All right, so going down here, I'm going to put in my step group name again. Getting started. And I'm also going to put in a step group description. And I'm going to say, get started here. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and start adding our steps. So we're going to add a few tasks in an article for this particular step group. So let's go ahead and add in a task. And notice that I'm dragging and dropping this task right into the required step section. Okay, and on the right-hand side panel, you can see that I can add in all the task information. So let me go ahead, and this task is the My Org Chart task. Okay, so I'm going to just type in a few words and click enter until I see the My Org Chart task. Now I do have the option of adding in a due date. So let's take a look at how to do that. I just click on the Add Date link, and I can add my due date with an event date related to either the hire date, the first day worked, or the journey received date. I can also utilize the functionality to put in a due in relation to event for an event date. My other option is that I can just add in a calendar date. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to add in the calendar date, October 13th, and then I'll click Save. Now, you can see there's a required flag here. If you want your step to be required for your recipient, you can check this checkbox. So since I automatically drug the task over to the required steps field, this checkbox is automatically checked. However, if I uncheck it, look what happens to the step. It's moved down here to the recommended steps section. Or I can recheck the checkbox and it moves it back into the required steps section. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm actually going to make my org chart required. Now I'm going to move down to the worker view section, and I can put in a different task name here if I want. However, for this purpose, I'm just going to leave the task name and the worker view as the same, the My Org Chart. And then I can add in a description. So I'll say something like review your org chart in the description field. Okay. Let's drag another task in. So for this particular task, I'm going to drag it into the recommended steps section. So I'm going to select my task, drag it into the recommended steps section. I'm going to go over here to the right side panel. And this task is the change my business title task. So I'm just going to start typing. Notice I only have to type a little bit and then it pops up for me. Okay, we don't need a due date for this task, so we'll skip that. I don't necessarily need this step to be required, so I'm not going to check the required checkbox. Then I'm going to move down to the worker view. I'm going to go ahead and leave the task name as is. And in the description box, I'm going to say something like, please change your business title when you have time. please change your business title when you have time. Just like that. Now I want to add another task in the required step section. So let me go back over here, grab a task, and drag it over here to the required steps. And I'm going to put it right under my org chart right there. And this task, I'm going to scroll up on my side panel, is the My Goals task. So I'm just going to search for My Goals until it comes up for me. Oops, maybe I didn't do that right. Let's try that again. My Goals. There it is. All right, and I'm going to select it. I do want to add a due date for this one. So I will use the calendar date and select October 13th and click Save. I do want this step to be required, so I'll leave that flag checked. I'll go down to the worker view. I will leave the task name as is, and then I can go ahead and enter some sort of description like set up your performance goals here. Okay. Now the next step is I would like to add in an article. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab the article here step, and I'm gonna, let's see, I want to make this one required. So I'm going to move it over here to the required step section and put it right there. And this is a knowledge management article that I had to set up in advance. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and in the article section, I'm going to search. I can either type or I can look at the existing list, but this article is called Our Dedication to a Diverse Workspace. So let's see. Yep. So I just type in a few words and it comes up for me. All right. And then just as I mentioned, please remember you'll need to create your article first and then put it in before you can put it into your journey. Otherwise, it won't be available for you. Let's add in another due date. So I'm going to click Add, click Calendar Date, and I want to keep these due dates consistent for the purpose of my demonstration. So again, I'm going to add in October 13th. I do want this step to be required. Moving on down to the worker view, I will leave the name as is. And in the description, I'm going to say, please review this article. Oops, let me turn on diversity. Okay. All right, so now we have our getting started step group with all of our required steps and our recommended steps. So now I think I would like to add in a second step group. So how do I do that? Well, I go over here and again, I just grab group and I'm going to drag it in and drop it right below my getting started step group. Okay. And this step group, I'm going to call preparing for management. So and then I'm not going to put in a condition rule or condition description. I'm just going to go down here to my worker view. I'm going to put the name in down here for the group description, just to keep it simple. I'm going to put in the same wording there. And I'm going to start adding in my steps. So for this one, let's begin by adding a to-do step. So again, to-dos, I'm going to make this required. Just remember, to-dos are just plain text. So you can pretty much type in exactly what you want the recipient to see. So up here, In the to-do name field, I'm going to go ahead and type in my team management. Okay. And then I can add in a description. Okay. Next, I'm going to drag in a task. So I'll put in the task, and I'm going to put the task here in the recommended section. So I go over here to the right side panel, and this task is the headcount report. And select it. I don't want the due date. I don't want to add a due date for this particular report, so it's not required. It's recommended, but I don't have to, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that. I'm going to scroll down to the worker view. I'll leave the task name as is, and I will go ahead and type in some sort of miscellaneous description here. Now I want to add in some learning content. So I'm going to grab the learning content option here, or the learning option, and I'm going to drag this over to the required step section. And I'm going to drop it in right below my other step there. And over here on my side panel, I'm going to call this learning content new manager training. There it is. Okay. I'm going to want to put in a due date, and I'll want to make my due date the 20th of October. So one note here, you want to make sure your due dates in Workday Learning are consistent with your due dates in your journeys. Now I do want this particular learning content to be required. So I'll go ahead and leave the required flag on, and then moving down to the worker view, I'll go ahead and leave the learning name as is. And then I will put in some sort of description. Be sure to complete your training before the due date. All right, very good. Let's see here. Now I want to add in a link, and I'm going to put this link under my recommended steps. So I'm going to move this over here under my recommended steps. So one thing to note about links is that you will need to create a quick link before adding it to your journey. So I went ahead and I dragged that over to my recommended steps. I've already created my quick link before I started this demonstration. And the link that I created is called New Manager 101. All right, and that'll take my recipient out to a website where they can read some Management 101 principles. I can add a due date if I want, but for this example, I don't want to do that since it's recommended, but I can. You can, depending on your requirements within your organization. You can also switch this back to required by checking the required checkbox. We'll go ahead and leave it as recommended. Moving down to the worker view, I'll leave the link name as is, and then I will put in a description. So review the Management 101 webpage. All right. Now, last but not least, I want to add in a video, and I'm going to make this a required step. So I'm going to drag it over here to the required step section. And as I mentioned earlier, I have to create my journey video first before I can add it to my journey. And the video that I've got out here is my leadership video. So I'm going to select leadership video there. I can go ahead and add in my due dates. So I'm going to click add calendar dates. I'm going to put the 20th of October. All right, save. I do want this required. I'll leave that checked. I move down to the worker view, leave the worker name as is, and I can put in a description, view the leadership video, something along those lines in the description field. All right, so now I have my second group with my description, my required steps, and my recommended steps. The next step is step 3, which is to check for errors. Okay, I want to be sure that I validate my journey before I distribute it to my recipient. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this check for errors button. And what I want to see is this little pop-up box right here that says my journey has successfully checked for errors and is ready for distribution. Well, this box may say it's ready for distribution, but I want to make sure that it is. And I want to do this by previewing my journey. So within the journey workspace, you can preview your journey for a specific user. So I'm going to go back to my journey workspace. Okay. And within the journey workspace, I can click on the preview tab somewhere. Did I miss it? Oh, here it is. I'm going to go to the transition manager. I've got to select it and then click preview. There we go. And I'm viewing it as myself. So I can go ahead and click continue and, view what the journey looks like to me. Otherwise, I can click this change button up here and I can type in a different user. Okay. So ultimately, I want to distribute this journey to an employee named Alejandro. So I'm going to search for Alejandro. There he is. So I want to see, what will Alejandro see when he views this journey? So I type in his name. Now you can see that I'm previewing this journey as Alejandro. And then I'll click continue. And this is what Alejandro sees. Okay, so you can see that he can see the transition to manager journey. He can see the getting started step group. Okay, he can show all the steps by clicking on the show all steps link. He can click on the second step group, which is preparing for management, and then he can see all those steps. He can click on individual steps, starting with the first one, and he can start completing the steps that he wants to take action on. All right. So I think everything looks good. I'm ready to distribute this. So there are 3 ways to distribute journeys. So I can use the distribute journeys task, which aligns with this particular button right up here. Okay. Secondly, I can use the mass operation management process. Or lastly, I can use the business process service step within the business process itself. Now, for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to click on the distribute button. So this is the distribute journeys task, and this is where I can add in ad hoc recipients up to 100 recipients. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and put in my journey category, transition to manager. And then in the journey builder field, I'm also going to put in transition to manager because this just equates to my journey name right there. And then lastly, I want to put in my recipient, and I can enter up to 100 recipients, but I'm going to just for this demonstration, send it to Alejandro. So I'm going to start typing his name, and there he is. And then I'm going to click OK to distribute my journey. All right, so I've distributed my journey. Now let's take a look at what Alejandro Ruiz will see when he logs in. So the way to do that here is I'm going to proxy in as Alejandro. So click Start Proxy. I'm going to start typing his name here until I see him come up, and then I'm going to click OK. So now we're proxied in as Alejandro, which means we're looking at Alejandro's Workday Today homepage. And you'll notice that he has 2 journeys assigned in the Awaiting Your Action section. So when Alejandro clicks on this, like, oh, gee, what are my 2 journeys? He can see his active journeys as well as his completed journeys. Now, he doesn't have any completed journeys at the moment, so he just sees that he has 2 active journeys that are awaiting his attention. So if he wants to open our journey that we just created, he would just go to the Transition to Manager journey and click on Open Journey. From here, he sees the Transition to Manager Journey page. He sees this welcome message, welcome to your journey. He's going to click Continue, and then he sees basically what we just saw when we were previewing as Alejandro earlier. So he would go through the process. He would go ahead and, complete all the individual steps. And after all the required steps are completed, he doesn't have to do the recommended steps, but after all the required steps are completed, Alejandro can simply move down to the bottom of the page and click Complete his journey. Okay, so this completes our demonstration. So I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint here, where I've got some additional reminders for you for your journeys. So before we conclude, I just want to make sure that you are aware of some of these other reminders that we really want to drive home. Currently, you must use the standalone tasks. You must create all of your standalone tasks, such as your journey videos, your articles, your links, your step groups, all your condition rules before including them in your journey editor. Secondly, you always want to make sure that you test your journey in some sort of test environment. So whether it be your GMS implementation tenant or a sandbox tenant, always make sure you test your journey before you add your configuration into the production tenant. And lastly, if you'd like to send out reminders to your recipients for incomplete journeys, you can always configure an alert. And should you need any additional support, don't hesitate to contact us. Active Cyber is always here to help you. And as you can see on this slide, we offer a number of services. So thank you for your attention. And as always, have a great workday.